19.4 million. That's how many followers the 7-member South Korean band Bangtan, also known as BTS, had on Twitter as of 8 o'clock this morning. $3.6 billion. That's how much BTS alone brings into the South Korean economy annually, according to The Diplomat. Despite these two facts, K-pop groups as well as K-pop fans receive an undeserved stigma and are often outright discriminated against. In the next few minutes, we'll discuss prejudice against K-pop, why you should care, and what we can do about it. First, let's discuss the problem. We as a society are exposed to more Korean pop music than ever before, but exposure does not mean equality or acceptance. Now I realize I can't possibly talk about every K-pop group in the time that we have, and talking about them all together is a bit too general. So for the purpose of this speech, I'll be limiting my examples to one group and their fan base. As K-pop becomes more and more mainstream in the global entertainment industry, artists such as BTS are becoming more and more a part of the conversation with each new album. Still, they're often discriminated against by the media and society as a whole. For example, BTS has been accused of selling out for fame, they've been called talentless and unoriginal, and non-Asians often say things like, they all look the same, or they look like girls. BTS has had 3 #1 Billboard albums in the last 11 months. But they're still criticized, mocked, and outright disrespected on social media and at press conferences. Oftentimes, it goes beyond the normal, expected criticism that celebrities face. Even as a fan, there's an unbelievable amount of discrimination. BTS's fan base, called ARMY, is often criticized for being nothing more than immature and obsessed 13-year-old girls. As an ARMY myself, I've had an overwhelming number of people judge me or try to shame me for liking and supporting BTS and K-pop in general. As humans, that can be a difficult thing to internalize. I'm sure you're sitting there thinking, that's sad and all, but it has nothing to do with me. So why should I care? You should care because groups like this have a huge impact on society and how they can change for the better. For example, BTS has sparked a global movement with the Love Yourself campaign. Through their music and messages of encouragement, BTS has taught their fan base, ARMY, to love ourselves. In the process of writing this speech, I was reminded of the speech that the leader of BTS, Kim Namjoon, also known as RM, gave at the United Nations Assembly last year. To quote him, "And maybe I made a mistake yesterday, but yesterday's me is still me. Today, I am who I am, with all of my faults and my mistakes. Tomorrow, I might be a tiny bit wiser, and that'll be me too. These faults and mistakes are what I am, making up the brightest stars in the constellation of my life. I have come to love myself for who I am, for who I was, and for who I will become." He also encouraged us to speak ourselves. In other words, once we learn to love ourselves, it's important to remain true to who we are and accept ourselves, no matter what others may say or think of us. RM wrapped up the speech by stressing the importance of self-acceptance. He said, no matter who you are, where you're from, your skin color, your gender identity, just speak yourself. This message struck a special chord in the LGBTQ community. Many people in the LGBTQ community have said that the reference to gender identity in RM's speech made them feel a sense of acceptance on the global stage. This is especially important to note because South Korea is a conservative country with very few out artists. This was not the first time that BTS has expressed support for the LGBTQ community, but it was certainly one of their more public displays of support. It's really easy to talk about wanting to make the world a better place though, so let's look at their actions. BTS partnered with UNICEF for an End Violence campaign and raised money to help children and victims of domestic abuse, and assault. According to the Korea Times, over $1.4 million was raised within the first year. The artists themselves have donated a large amount of their own money, as well as a percentage of their album sales, to the fund. On top of that, the members of BTS have been giving their time and their money since their debut to different charities. Every year on their respective birthdays, the members of BTS make a large donation to the charity of their choice. For example, the Korea Times noted in February of this year that BTS's J-Hope donated a total of 250 million won to Child Fund Korea to be used for scholarships for underprivileged children to receive a quality education. Similarly, BTS's Suga donated 22 pounds of Korean beef to 39 different orphanages for his birthday. BTS has also inspired their fans to give back. The group One in an Army was created specifically for this purpose. One in an Army donates to a different charity each month. According to Newsday, a few examples of their 2018 donations include 34 water filters to Tanzanian schools, 200 meals given to Syrian refugees, and $3,000 given to Medical Teams International for medical supplies. One in an Army is also involved with social outreach. Every month, we have a campaign centered around making the world a better place by spreading kindness and joy. Some armies organize projects to help those in need or even clean up cities. So now that you've seen the impact that K-pop has on society, let's talk about the end of discrimination. The first step lies in keeping an open mind. I know it's a difficult thing to do, but being slow to judge really is the most important step to tolerance. It's also important to keep the conversation going. Oftentimes, people don't even realize that they're being biased until somebody calls them out on it. We as humans have an uncanny ability to hate each other and discriminate against each other for the stupidest things. You don't have to like the same things I do, and that's okay. Honestly, I would not expect you to. But there is a difference between not liking something and spewing malice. So instead of hating on something, why don't we just try to focus on the things that we do like? No matter how you feel about something, showing others kindness should be a priority. And if you can't be kind, then at least don't discriminate. To wrap this up, I'll leave you with one final thought. Comedian Trevor Noah once said this in relation to racial discrimination. Just don't be a racist. It's really not that hard.